I honestly can't believe that I've not heard of this tag before. Welcome back to Time on the Wrist at Chisholm Hunter. My name is Harrison, as always. And today we have a very unique looking tag. I'm looking at it because it's literally right beside me at the moment. And this tag got released, but it's kind of a sleeping giant. Not many people are talking about it. Tag isn't advertising it as heavily as they normally advertise their products. It's a little bit like the Amiga CK859. It was released, but nobody really knew it was released because it wasn't advertised by Amiga. And then a year later, 2 years later-ish, it gets discontinued, but they don't say anything. They keep it very hush-hush, keep it very quiet, and it is becoming a collector's item now. Now, when you think of Tag, you automatically think of the Aquaracer. That is their key staple line. It's a bit like Longines and the Hydra Conquest, or AP and the Royal Oak, or Vacheron and the Overseas. It's their key line that everyone talks about. So when they released the Tag Heuer Aquaracer 200 about a year and a half ago, people went mental because it was a big change to a very popular line. And now, with this model, they are expanding that range. So without further ado, because I've delayed this far too long, I've just been rambling about watches. This is the new Tag Heuer Professional 200 with a brilliant green sunray dial. We need to talk about this watch because, in my opinion, it is a sleeping giant. The Aquaracer range from Tag Heuer was actually released in 2004, and it has roots going back to Heuer's original diving watches released in about the 1980s. So there's a ton of history behind this model, and I think that's something that Tag definitely get right, that they definitely excel at, is their styling. This styling is present from Tag in every single line that they release, and also present in the market that they appeal to. They appeal to a younger clientele, a younger market, and because of this appeal to the younger audience, I will never speak badly of Tag. I think they bring a new audience into the industry and get them into watch collecting in the first place, so they'll always have a special place in my heart. But enough of that ramble, let's get on to the specs. This model comes in at 40mm in diameter, and this is pretty perfect for my 6.5-inch wrists and also slimmer wrists. Now, there's a trend in the industry at the moment where watches are getting smaller. People want more vintagey looking smaller watches. They don't want the big hunk of metal on the wrists anymore that they maybe used to like. And this is definitely within the UK. That's something that I've identified over the last couple of years. People just want smaller watches. In terms of thickness, this watch comes in, according to our digital calipers, at about 11.5, 11.6 millimeters. So it's not extremely slim, but it's very pleasantly slim. It's slimmer than my Amiga Seamaster, and actually I would like my Amiga Seamaster to maybe come in at this thinness. This just came in. This is the Tissot PRX Iced Blue, and we are giving it to you guys because we've hit 30k. All you need to do to enter to win this automatic watch worth £610 is firstly subscribe to our YouTube channel. Thank you very much in advance. Fire over to our Instagram, Chisholm Hunter Watches, and drop us a follow on there, and comment with your favorite Tissot model or your favorite watch in general. Thank you guys so much for supporting this channel, and this is for you. The case and the bracelet of this model come in stainless steel, and this is beautifully stylized like Tag Heuer so brilliantly do. There's a combination of brushed and polished. You have the central link is polished and the outer two are brushed. Now, we'll get onto the bezel a bit later, but the bezel is definitely, in my opinion, one of the most attractive features. The bracelet tapers in very, very slightly, and I'm not going to lie, I would like to see a little bit more taper there. I just think it's that little bit too chunky at the bottom, but that's just my opinion. I suppose it's all personal preference. It has a deployant clasp with a safety latch, which is really, really nice, but it doesn't have on-the-fly or quick macro extensions. You do need to do it manually, which is a bit annoying. I mean, you can see it in the Tudor T-Fit clasp. That system that they've adopted is so brilliant. So I'd love to see that in these Tag Heuer models, and I think that would get them a lot more respect in the industry. The crown on this model is quite prominent. I think it could be shaved down just a touch, in my opinion, but it still is pretty aesthetically appealing, and it's in proportion with the rest of the watch. It, of course, has crown guards to protect that crown, and the crown is a screw-down crown, allowing this watch a water resistance of 200 meters. Now, obviously, they do the 300 meter Aquaracers and also 500 meter Aquaracers if you want to up that water resistance. But as I've said in other videos, will you ever use that water resistance? Because in my life, I probably wouldn't. And now we get on to one of the most attractive features on this model, in my humble opinion. But before we do that, remember that Chisholm Hunter are authorized retailers for Tag Heuer watches. If you want to shop any Tag Heuers or shop from the range of watches that we stock, please head to Chisholm Hunter's website, linked below, or just search it on your Google device, your phone. And we also have 29 stores, which are all Chisholm Hunter related. Anyway, on with the video. The bezel on this model is definitely the most attractive feature. I mean, look at how stunning it is and how it plays wonderfully with that almost black sunray dial. It's not quite green at the edges because it is a sunray kind of dial. It's almost black, so that contrasts with the stainless steel beautifully. Now, I've said this in other videos, but stainless steel bezels, in my opinion, are a dying breed. You don't see them anymore. People are upgrading to ceramic. Now, I know the benefits of ceramic. It's more scratch resistant, and if you chip a stainless steel bezel, it will be permanently disfigured. So I get it, but there's something really nice, something really vintage inspired, something drawn from history about stainless steel bezels, and it's an aesthetic you just can't achieve with ceramic. So I'm all for this stainless steel bezel. The bezel actually has a combination of brushed and polished steel. Now you can see the brushed on the outside, on the surface of the bezel, but when it gets to the slopes down the sides, it goes to the polished. And that gives it a wonderful look and a wonderful feel. Also, if you think about it, polished steel shows scratches more than brushed does. So the fact that they have brushed on the front of it does give it a little bit more protection, although it is still stainless steel. The bezel also has black print. It has an arrow at the 12 o'clock mark and a unidirectional bezel, which is very, very easy to turn. Perhaps too easy. Have a listen. Now, I would actually like it if they tightened that just a touch, but I am a watch snob and I will never be happy. And now we get to that beautiful dial, the upgrade of this model. Now, this dial is green, but the renders online say that it's extremely vibrant. I can tell you from looking at this watch, from holding it, from getting it on the wrist, that it's very dark, it's very dulled down, it's muted green, and it is intense in the middle, but muted as you go out that sunray pattern because it gets darker towards the borders. It's almost more forest green than kind of vibrant green, I would say. And it depends on how you reflect it in the light, how much that green comes up. It's really, I can't praise it enough. It is really, really beautiful. Now, you guys that know me, you'll know that I'm a sucker for patterned dial, for textured dial. And this does have a teak pattern running across it, which is basically tons of layered little lines, which gives it that extra depth. The date window is at the 6 o'clock mark and it has white printed numerals which show obviously the date. It's very, very readable, especially because it's positioned at the outer surface or outer edges of that sunray kind of pattern, so it's darker. It's got a darker bit of dial that it's on, if that makes any sense. It just means the white's a lot more contrasting and a lot more prominent. It's a good design feature. It looks really, really strong, really nice, and I like the symmetry of that. I've not talked about that in a while, you know, Drew. The symmetry of a dial, to me, all depends on the date window. If it's sided to one side, let's say the 3 o'clock mark, like they normally are, it's off axis. It's almost like having a photo, I'm a photographer, that's weighted to one side. Your eyes are drawn to the one side. I prefer my eyes being drawn to the middle, and in my opinion, that's what a 6 o'clock date window does. I'm a fan. The lume on this model is extremely strong. I'm very, very impressed with how bright this lume is. Most of the indices and hour markers are in green, but you do have that minute marker that has a blue lume, giving it a kind of modern twist to it. And I'm a huge fan of this, but I know that some people like kind of just one color of lume, so it really depends on your taste. And now we get to the movement and the price of this model. But before we get on to that, what is on your wrist today? It's time for the Chisholm Hunter tradition, which of course is the wrist check. On my wrist at the moment is absolutely nothing. I feel naked. I honestly I put my Tissot to one side, forgot it this morning, and now I feel naked. It's funny how that starts to happen. Let me know what's on your wrist today. The movement on this model is the Caliber 5 automatic movement. Now this has 38 hours of power, beats at a frequency of 28,800 VPH, and has 26 joules. With that said, it is a Sellita-based movement. It's funny that this has happened with this model, that it's been released, but it's kind of been sleeping. I believe this is a sleeping giant. I believe this will be an extremely popular model. It's just curious to me that Tag aren't pushing it as much as I know that they could. Now, this does come in at £2,500, but for that, you get an incredible brand, and Tag is an incredible brand. It has a huge amount of history. We've talked about it in other videos. The style element of this watch is phenomenal. I'm saying that because it's true. I can change little details here and there, but I would be nitpicking. It's a brilliant model in terms of style. But where I think this watch needs to upgrade itself is probably the movement. And on that note, thank you guys so much for watching this episode of Time in the Wrist at Chisholm Hunter. My name is Harrison, as always. And if you enjoyed, please hit that subscribe button. It honestly helps more than you know, and we're trying to reach our goal of 50,000 subscribers. And the bigger that the subscribers get, the bigger the giveaways get, the bigger the watches get, and everything just expands and becomes better. Thank you guys so much, and I'll see you very soon.